What's up, guys? Welcome back to King Kraken Sports. Mike here. Earlier today, you saw me break down the NFC South. This has been the video I've been waiting to make the entire time. It's my team's division, the NFC East. I think we know where we're heading with this, but oh man, I've been waiting to get into this all fucking week. Let's go. Let's not waste any time. You know exactly where I'm going with this. Oh, Giants, you done fucked up. How? How the fuck did you think this was a good idea? Daniel motherfucking Jones at 6. Daniel fucking Jones at 6. Oh my goodness gracious. Alright, spoiler, behind the scenes. Come here, guys. I was studying for my exams during the draft. I was reading my notes for the exam I had the next morning during the first couple picks of the draft. And then as I'm watching Bleacher Report's coverage, I heard Daniel Jones, New York Giants, number 6, and my initial reaction, I legitimately threw my notes into the air and began cackling. I was broken by this pick. And I'm not alone. I'm really not alone. Because if you go on Twitter and you search Good Morning Football from the day after the draft, Kyle Brandt tore that team a new one. You watched ESPN's digital coverage, not their television show with Kuiper and McShay and Berman. No. Their online stuff with Mina Kimes and Field Yates, they burst out laughing. They laughed at the pick. They didn't believe it. They thought it was a fucking joke. They thought it was April Fool's Day, for God's sake. CBS Sports, same thing. Dominique Foxworth had to actually leave the set. He was laughing so hard. This is not a good sign for your team. Nobody had this happening. And I don't know how to even explain this pick. I almost wanted to make my own video just for this pick. But that would be whoring for views, and I'm not one for view whoring. Let's take a step back and let's look at this from Gettleman's perspective. Because Gettleman is the one that's going to get himself fired with this pick. He has come out for days and tried to justify this pick. Denver was going to take him. No, they weren't. Denver said Denver's board had Drew Lock number 1, and they traded out into round 2 and got Drew Lock. Well, Washington was going to take him. No, they made it very clear they wanted Haskins the entire time. Cincinnati? Nope, they didn't draft a quarterback till round 4, and it was Ryan Finley, who's nothing like Daniel Jones. Well, I mean, he's kind of like Daniel Jones, but, I mean, they weren't looking for a quarterback. They believe in Dalton. Miami? Nope, they were finalizing the Rosen deal. No one was going to take him. He was going to be there at 17. You let a smoke show for all smoke shows to say, well, we need to address the pass rusher because, you traded Olivier Vernon. You had a massive hole at wide receiver because you traded Odell Beckham. And you instead reach on Daniel fucking Jones because he was coached by the same guy that coached the Mannings. This is a fucking terrible pick. This is the only F I gave this year. Yes, this is an F. He was 63rd on my board. You took him 6th. He was a 2nd to 3rd round grade on everyone's board. He might have still been there at 30. Adam Schefter came out today and said he might have still been there at 30 when they traded up. You done fucked up, Gettleman. You done fucked up. After that pick, their draft was fucked. It really didn't matter what else they did. Come back at 17. Grab Dexter Lawrence. A player that fits the exact same role that Dalvin Tomlinson already does a very good job of doing. And you've got B.J. Hill, who does more or less the exact same thing. Where was the need for this pick? You are not in a position to be taking best player available at positions of non-need. You need a wide receiver, for God's sakes. A.J. Brown was still on the board. N'Keal Harry was... No receiver had been taken. You could have had the pick of the fucking litter because, you traded the best one in the NFL. What the fuck are... Get the fuck out of my face with this. This was a C. Their best pick in the first round came with the guy they traded up for at 30, and that was DeAndre Baker. He was 23rd on my board. They drafted him at 30. I give this a C+. Yeah, the value is there. There's one problem. No one had DeAndre Baker going around one due to character concerns, the fact he's slow, the fact he's unathletic. Greedy was still available. Trayvon Mullen was still available. Rocky Sin was still available. Byron Murphy was still available. It's no wonder Gettleman doesn't draft corners early. He doesn't know how to fucking evaluate them. You finally filled a position in need properly at 95 with O'Shane Ximines, who should not be relied on as your go-to pass rusher, which is the role he's going to have to fill now. He was 55th on my board. I gave this an A. But, I mean, after you botched the first round, it doesn't really fucking matter. Julian Love at 108, another good pick. This would have made more sense had you have stayed in round 2 and gotten, like, what the hell are you doing? By the way, bye-bye Janoris Jenkins. When you draft 2 corners that are, you know, top 50 players at any point, Janoris Jenkins is probably thanking his lucky stars you did because he can go on a team that's going to win some fucking football games. Ryan Connolly at 143, not on my board, gets a default C. By the way, Julian Love, A+. Darius Slayton, the wide receiver out of Auburn. At least you got a wide receiver that's taller than 5'10 now and a speed threat. You got him at 171. He was 164 on my board. That's an A. Next 3 guys, none of them are on my board. Corey Ballantyne, hope for a speedy recovery from him. He got shot at his own draft parties, so I really hope that he's gonna be okay. All reports are that he came through without any major injuries, but yeah, obviously never a good sign. I said on Instagram the day after, the morning after day 1, it didn't matter what the fuck the Giants did after round 1. Those first 3 picks were all so bad, it sealed their fate. They had an A, an A+, and an 2 A's and an A+. And they came out with a C because they botched the rest of the draft that poorly. Fucking hell. I feel bad for Giants fans, and I'm an Eagles fan. That should not be a thing. You could have had Dwayne Haskins and Montez Sweat, and they're now playing in your division. I'm sorry, Giants fans. For years, I've ragged on the Redskins with Bruce Allen and Doug Williams because they truly have not had a fucking clue what they're doing. But they actually did really fucking well this year and had shocked the hell out of me. Let's start it. 15 overall, Dwayne Haskins, the best quarterback in the entire class, falls to you at 15. He was 19th on my board. He was the only first-round quarterback I had. You get an A+, Washington. I don't think I've actually ever given you an A+ on a pick. Montez Sweat falls due to complications and confusions over whether or not he actually had an undiagnosed heart condition. Then it comes out that he didn't have it after all. So he falls to 26. He was my 7th overall player. You got him at 26. You traded up. This was a fan-fucking-tastic move. Gave you another A+. What is going on? How is Washington learning how to draft? Not a big fan of your next pick with Terry McLaurin. I had him at 199. You picked him at 76. That's a big reach. However, I do like it in one regard. You now have Dwayne Haskins with a guy that he's familiar with, and McLaurin's going to play on special teams for you as well. So you've got a guy that he's already got a rapport built in with, plus he's going to help you in other facets of the game. I can't really hate it. I'm just not a fan of it. I gave it a C. Bryce Love, I hated as a pick. Getting him at 112, there were so many better running backs available. He was my 200th guy. C-, it's a reach. He's an injury concern. I'm not about that. Wes Martin, the guard from Indiana, I didn't know who he was. He gets the default C. Ross Pierschbacher at 153. He was 177 on my board. Loved that pick. Gave it an A. This is a team that was decimated by injuries on the offensive line last year. So depth is key. Also, they lost Ty Nsekhe. So they need kind of that swing offensive lineman. Pierschbacher can play 3 interior positions. Is a great pick. Cole Holcomb, the linebacker out of North Carolina. Didn't get to watch him, wasn't sure who he was, gets a C. And then they finished off really strong. Because Kelvin Harmon at 206, I have no idea how the fuck he made it to round 6. This is an A+. Like, this is an easy A+. He was my 33rd best player, and you got him at 206. I don't know what caused the fall. I know he wasn't necessarily the greatest athlete, but he had to have gone earlier than this. So that's now 3 A+s I've given the Redskins. Jimmy Moreland at 227. He was 188 on my board. An A, fits a need. What is happening? And then Jordan Brailford, the edge rusher out of Oklahoma State, at 253 was 228 on my board. That's an A. Overall, I gave the Redskins an A. They killed this draft. I like to think I'm a little impartial and that I try my best to openly and honestly evaluate the Eagles draft from year to year. Last year, they were the lowest team I graded in the NFC East, and people still thought that I was being too nice on them. This year, I really couldn't be too mean because I liked the picks they made. They only had 5, but, I mean, let's just talk about this. So, I mentioned that in yesterday's video, Houston has some leaks in their front office they got to take care of. Andre Dillard was known to be the guy they were looking after. Philly decides, fuck it, let's trade up to 22, and let's get Andre Dillard. He was 24th on my board. Jason Peters is hurt. Halapuli Vaitai is an upcoming free agent, and also not very good. You have your left tackle of the future. Honestly, Jason Peters gets pulled from games. He gets hurt a lot. This guy's going to have to play year 1 for sure. Love it, gave it an A. Miles Sanders at 53. There was another running back in David Montgomery that I thought was probably going to be the pick, but I like the Sanders fit. I think putting him beside, to go along with Jordan Howard is a great 1-2 punch, and it eliminates the need for guys like Wendell Smallwood, who's stuck around with the team far too long, Corey Clement, who's just a guy, Josh Adams, who is just a guy. There's not really a whole lot of room for those guys now because it's Jordan Howard and it's Miles Sanders, and I love it. And he's a Pittsburgh guy that went to Penn State and now gets to play for Philly. This is awesome. Gave this an A. Like the value, like the fit, like the player. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside at 57. I had him at 78. Maybe a little bit of a reach. This is also bye-bye Nelson Aguilar. We're not going to pay you $9 million fucking dollars. We'll probably trade you closer to training camp, but yeah, he's not going to be long for this team. I like Arcega-Whiteside a lot more than I like what Nelson Aguilar brings to the team. Gave this an A. Their day 3 picks really didn't matter much to me. Sharif Miller at 138. I thought it was a reach. Not really sure where the need for it is. I guess just to get younger and bring in another rotational pass rusher. He was 219 on my board. I gave it a C+. And then I did not like Clayton Thorson at 167. He was 244 on my board. I compared him to Tim Tebow. That's not a good comparison in terms of a player you want on your team. So it gets a C. Overall, the first 3 picks made by the Eagles really overshadowed the kind of meh day 3, but I don't really care about the day 3 guys. This is a championship caliber roster, so I'm hoping that Philly gets it together. Maybe Carson Wentz can stay fucking healthy. This is an A- draft. Well, Dallas never ceases to amaze me when it comes to the draft. Sometimes I really like it, and sometimes I have more questions coming out of it than I had going into it. Let's start at 58, where they went Tristan Hill. God, this was a bad pick. Tristan Hill had work ethic concerns, to the point where they even had to include a work ethic clause in his contract. I'd never heard of that before. I'm amazed that exists. I'm happy that exists. This is a guy that started 1 game last year because UCF's coaches didn't like him. Now, was he a good player in his sophomore year? Yeah. Was he any good as a junior? Nope. Yeah. His 2017 tape was miles better than his 2018 tape. I had this guy at 205 overall. You drafted him at 58. Congratulations, Dallas. You played yourself. Connor McGovern at 90. This is a good pick. I had him at 93, so the value is there. Now, some people may be wondering about need. La'el Collins is going to be an upcoming free agent next year, so that might force Connor Williams to play right tackle, which opens a hole at guard. Also, Travis Frederick. He may not be coming back the same player he was after coming off of the illness he had. I can't remember what he had exactly, but I know he was out for an extended period of time. And that's the thing, is that depth on that Dallas offensive line is crucial if you want to be a power football team with Zeke running the ball down, the opposing team's throat. I like this pick. I gave this an A. I liked it. Tony Pollard, the kind of do-it-all gadget player out of Memphis, I didn't get a chance to really watch him all that much, so I had to give it a C. But from what I hear, he's going to be kind of that Tavon Austin type of role that they had last year, except maybe they'll actually use him a little bit better than they used Tavon Austin, so keep an eye on that one. Loved their next two picks with Michael and Joe Jackson, both out of Miami. Depth at corner is always a plus. These guys are going to be, Michael Jackson especially is going to be playing special teams. I had him at 113. You got him at 158. This dude is a smooth criminal, and he is an A grade all day long. Joe Jackson, I did not expect to see fall this far. I was a little low on him throughout the process, kind of in that 75 to 100 range. He raised up a little bit right before the draft, up to 73. I did not expect him to be kind of a mid-day 3 player and falling all the way to 165. He was at 73 on my board. This is an A+. Donovan Wilson, the defensive back out of Texas A&M, keeping a guy in state. 213, didn't have him on my board. It's a C. Now, the reason I have an asterisk beside this, I didn't grade it higher or lower, but just a note, most draft experts, Jeremiah, Zierlein, and Matt Miller, all had him as a UDFA, so maybe this was a bit of a reach. Probably could have waited. I don't know. Mike Weber at 218. I had him at 138. This is a great backup running back to have to Zeke in case he were to go down with injury, or if anything were to happen to Zeke, which has happened in the past. I'm not saying. I like Zeke. I'm just saying. Gave this an A. Solid backup. Has played that backup role at Ohio State very well to J.K. Dobbins. And Jalen Jelks. They finished off at 241 with the Oregon pass rusher. I had him at 171. Great value. Gave it an A. Overall, I gave this draft a B+. I had a lot of A's, as you saw, but I can't get over the reach for Tristan Hill. It was really bad value, and then Tony Pollard, just kind of the uncertainty surrounding him and what his role is going to be, drops it a little bit. Otherwise, this could have been an A- or an A grade.